What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and happy Friday to all of you guys. But coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the Vikings rushing offense and why I believe it will take a massive step forward in this upcoming season. Now, as we know, Kevin O'Connell, one of the best head coaches in the National Football League. But if we had to pick one shortcoming of him being an offensive head coach, it's got to be his ability to get a consistent running game. Now, back in the 2022 season, the Vikes were 27th in rushing yards per game. That was the year they won 13 games. 2023 obviously had the injuries to the quarterback position, but they were still 29th in rushing that year. And then this past year, definitely saw an uptick. And you won 14 games, having the 19th best rushing offense in the league. But still, this has been the number one issue with Kevin O'Connell. But I do think after all the moves the Vikings have made this offseason, we should see this part of the Vikings offense vastly improve heading into the season. But speaking about the Vikings rushing offense, if you want the Vikes to be a dominant running team this upcoming season, hit that thumbs up icon. There is nothing better than having your football team, especially offensively, just to be a powerhouse running team. So I'm hoping the Vikings lean into that this upcoming year. But if you guys want the Vikes to be a dominant running team, go down there, hit that thumbs up icon. All right, so why it will improve. We're going to start off with the running backs here, and mainly the addition of Jordan Mason and how that addition will impact Aaron Jones and his rushing ability this season. Now, the raw stats for both these guys, they both had great 2024 seasons. Aaron Jones going over just 1,500 all-purpose yards. I thought he was very, very solid, and he had to take on a major role. Like, the Vikings didn't really have a running back behind Jones that they were huge fans of. I guess they had Cam Akers when they traded for him at the deadline, but especially before that, like, they didn't really trust Ty Chandler. And then Jordan Mason, had one of the best years at the running back position in terms of having limited carries, averaging 5.2 yards per clip. But I do think with the addition of Jordan Mason, it should hopefully improve the Vikings as a goal line rushing team. That was definitely their biggest issue this past year. But also, it should put Aaron Jones in a more condensed role where he is not going out there and getting 255 carries like he did last season. Hopefully that drops down to like 125, 150, and it's more of like a split backfield with him and Jordan Mason. If that is the case, and Aaron Jones in a more condensed role, he should be just a more productive running back because he is older. He has had a lengthy injury history, but when he is healthy and he's 110%, I still think even at this point in his career, he can be one of the better running backs in the National Football League in a condensed role. Now, some of the advanced numbers I do think speak to that. Like, he was only seeing 8-man boxes on 18% of runs this season. Keep in mind, Jordan Mason was actually number one on this list at around 33%, so even more credit to Mason on that one. But rushing yards over expected, he was in the positive at plus 42, and then per attempt, he was 0.17. And this, again, was with a massive workload on his plate. Now, if you condense that workload, I would assume the RYOE stats both skyrocket this upcoming season. And, more stats on Jordan Mason here with the RYOE stats. On the bottom, it's rushing yards over expected per carry, where Jordan Mason is just under 1.5 yards. And then it's yards after contact per carry going up on this graph, and Jordan Mason about middle of the pack at around 3.6 yards per carry after contact. But he's up there with Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. See a guy like Bucky Irving up there, even a Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, there's some talented running backs. And I think Jordan Mason, if I had to pick my favorite addition of the offseason, it's got to be him. Like, I understand the additions of Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, Hargrave, Allen. Like, I love all those moves as well. But I think this Jordan Mason addition, we're going to be looking back and be like, man, that guy just ran for 800, 900 yards this season with the Vikings. Like, how great would that be? And if he really changes the identity, because he's also a very physical runner. Like, if you go throw on the tape, he's trying to run through people. He doesn't go down easily. You can't arm tackle this guy. So hopefully it gives just the Vikings a more physical feel offensively, because we have been a finesse football team. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the roster and how it's been constructed, with having, your biggest advantage every single week. I always say this during the season: Jefferson, Addison, and Hockenson. There is not a secondary that can match up well with them. So the Vikes are obviously leaning in more into that. But I think now with J.J. McCarthy, you got to be a more physical football team. Try to replicate what the 49ers did with Brock Purdy when they made one Super Bowl with Purdy. But also this: the Vikes should have a dominant offensive line. We were talking about it's on the show recently. I think the Vikes had the best offensive line in the NFC North heading into the season after Frank Ragnow retired, the center for the Detroit Lions. And, they invested a lot in this group. And, I know everybody gives, the Bears a ton of credit, and they should get credit for what they did on their interior. But honestly, I think the Vikings put more into it. Like, you spent a first-round pick on Donovan Jackson. You were able to sign Ryan Kelly to even though it's a shorter deal, it's a good deal for him. And then Will Fries, you give him a 5-year contract. Like, you're really banking on those three guys in the interior that have good years. And they did last year. Obviously, Donovan Jackson, this was his PFF grades when he actually was playing left tackle for Ohio State this past season. But Christian Darrisaw, when he's out there healthy, he's, in my opinion, the best left tackle in the league. Ryan Kelly's just solid at the center position. Will Fries, he was a stud last year in very limited action. And then obviously we know Brian O'Neill, he's an absolute stud as well. So you got 5 good offensive linemen. I think it's just going to come down to continuity, building that chemistry. But if they're able to do that, pair that up with the running backs, should have a successful season on the ground for the Vikes next year. But I'll ask you guys this. Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones, who will lead the Vikings in rushing next season? I think it's going to be probably a battle up until week 17, 18. I'm going to lean Aaron Jones. I'm going to lean Aaron Jones on this one. Maybe I'll go Jordan Mason. I don't know. I also think there's a possibility where Mason ends up getting 70% of the carries on the second half of the year just to keep Jones fresh for maybe the playoffs or something. But I think both these guys could have, damn near 1,000-yard seasons. Hopefully they can replicate what Gibbs and Montgomery had in Detroit. We obviously know as Vikings fans, those two have killed us. But you guys let me know who will lead the Vikings in rushing next season. Now, we'll dive into more reasons here on the Vikings running game and why it should be vastly improved this upcoming season. But before we do so, I got to tell you guys about today's sponsor, and that is Factor Meals. Now, get started at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off and use code VikingsChat50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Now, summer is here. Couldn't be more excited, which means more sun, more light, and more time to do all the things that make summer so special. And the number one thing you don't want to be doing all summer, spending hours cooking inside. That's where Factor comes in. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. Now, Factor meals, they also arrive fresh and ready to eat, perfect for any active lifestyle over summer and beyond. And here covering the Minnesota Vikings, we get out of the office pretty late sometimes, around 7 o'clock, and I don't always feel like making a home-cooked meal, but that's why they have great options. Blackened salmon, Texas cheddar burger. It has completely changed my life, and it will do the same for you guys. Just make sure you click that link in the comment section and description of today's show. But get started at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off. Use code VikingsChat50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code VikingsChat50off at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Hit that link, factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off. Now, another reason why it should improve is, it starts with the head coach, and it's just him adjusting and playing more into his roster. Because, like I was kind of teasing at the start of today's show, I don't necessarily blame Kevin O'Connell for never being the most invested in the run game because you did have shaky offensive lines. I never thought Dalvin Cook, especially in that 22 season, he was that good. Obviously, Madison was terrible in 2023, and this past season with no Darrisaw, you had Dalton Reisner, Blake Brandel, and Garrett Bradbury, it's just tough to run the football. But all of the offseason moves for the Vikings should mean an identity change is coming. Now, I would be shocked if the Vikings just took their playbook from last season and threw it on to the 2025 season. I think it's going to look completely different. I think it's going to be built more around the run game, and they are just trying to make JJ's life a lot easier because this was a guy in college. As much as I love JJ, he didn't have to throw the ball all over the lot. So how do you make his life easier? You get him a solid run game. You get him easy looks and play action. And I think Kevin O'Connell understands that. And I think this whole Vikings team, that should be posted up in the locker room. We will be the best rushing team in the National Football League. We got to be more physical because also we have seen KOC be so successful during these regular seasons, 13 wins in 22, 14 wins last season. But obviously when the postseason comes around and you can't run the football and you're not a physical team, it's just tough to win those big-time playoff games. So I think KOC will adjust. And another reason why I think it will improve, and I guess, the Vikings had these 3 guys last season, but Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. That stat I was showing earlier about Aaron Jones not having a ton of stacked boxes in terms of 8-man fronts. Why is that? It's because you got to respect Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson on the outside. And it will at least keep these defenses honest because even if the Vikings are rolling in, let's just say first month of the season goes by, Vikings are averaging like 200 yards per game on the ground. It's like, oh, they're the best rushing offense in the league. Still, when defensive coordinators are planning for the Vikings, they still have to respect Justin Jefferson. That's why I think it's like a perfect combination offensively coming together this season. But again, it all comes down to having that dominant run game, because if you don't have that dominant run game, then teams will kind of treat you like they did the past couple of years, where it's like Jefferson's getting double, triple team looks every single play. So hopefully the run game, balance each other out, where it's like, yeah, if you do take away the run, all right, we'll kill you over the top. If you take away our kill shots over the top, then we'll just kill you with the run game. I really think the Vikings are, building a more complete offense than they did in past years. And also, two guys that I don't think get enough love from Vikings fans, Josh Oliver and C.J. Ham. Like, Josh Oliver is the best run-blocking tight end in the league. C.J. Ham still a top 5 fullback in the National Football League. And I just want to see heavy packages more this year on offense. Like, maybe that means you're running, Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones is one of the running backs. C.J. Ham at fullback. You're running 2 tight ends. And you got Jefferson, Addison on the outside. Like, I want to see more of those physical looks where maybe it's like for a whole drive, if you're really beating the crap out of a team, you just hop in that heavy package where it's Josh Oliver, C.J. Ham. You got a de facto like 7 offensive linemen out there on the field. So hopefully they lean more into that. I think they will. Like, honestly, I want to call it like a hot take, like the Vikes will have, a top 10 rushing offense this season. I would honestly be shocked if they don't. I would be disappointed in Kevin O'Connell if they don't. And that's going to be a huge storyline throughout the season where, let's just say McCarthy does struggle and the Vikings aren't able to run the football. Like, yes, a lot of people would be probably dogging on JJ, but also a lot of us Vikings fans are probably looking at KOC like, man, you really have no excuse not to be a good running offense this year. Like, you look at your guys like LaFleur. Packers have a great rushing offense. The Niners, like obviously the Eagles and the Lions in the NFC, you're going to have to lean into that, especially during playoff time. So I think they will. But hey, you guys made it to the end of today's show. We appreciate all of you guys for watching. Give me a skull down below in the comment section, and make sure you hit that subscribe button on your way out. But we'll see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.